What's up, the squad? Back with another video. I seen the titles going out. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button for me, please. Y'all see it right here. President Trump names Vice President J.D. Vance the Fraud to investigate taxpayer fraud. Check it out right here. Says Vice President J.D. Vance is now, this obviously post from President Trump. Vice President J.D. Vance is now in charge of fraud in the United States. It is massive. It is, and if y'all watch my last video, y'all see a lot on why I wanted to follow up with this video. Skim over this, because we got a lot to go over. We will call him the fraud czar, and his focus will be everywhere, which is truly, truly, truly important, for that, seeing how a lot obviously has been going on in Minnesota, but it's been a lot in California. When I say a lot. So make sure y'all go check out that last video. Said about primarily in those blue states were crooked Democrat politicians, like those in California, Illinois, Minnesota, Somalia, beware. He put in parentheses with an exclamation mark. Maine, New York, and many others. I didn't know anything about Maine, though. This is my first time hearing about Maine. Maybe I'll check out Maine and see what that's about. Definitely. Says the numbers are large, that if successful, we will literally be able to balance our American budget. Raids have already started in LA. Good luck, JD. Truly wish I would have put this in my last video, seeing how, emphasizing LA and what's going on. But one thing about it is that I'm definitely glad that, stuff is going in motion. This stuff that obviously a lot have voted for, one of the things. So truly glad about that. Ilhan Omar here says Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. We get involved in making America better. I don't know how in the world herself or others, are making, America better. But it's truly insane when it comes down to it, of her even saying it. Look more so about, Ilhan Omar. And this post literally says everyone needs to be aware of this, because it's definitely important. You literally have here, journalist Every Day exposes the history of Minnesota, Representative Ilhan Omar. Check it out right here.
And make regime change really does not help the people of countries like Venezuela, and it certainly does not help, and it's not in the interest of the United States.
For Ilhan Omar to make comments about a regime change is wild, considering her family's history, and I figured not enough people know about her family's history. So let's recap. Her dad and her grandfather were both high-ranking military officials to the Barr regime, which over 200,000 people. They're most famous for the Isaac genocide, and they were like, it was the worst of the worst. Aerial bombings, man-made famine. People massively suffered under this regime with the help of people like Ilhan Omar's family, who supported the regime and carried out this horror. Also, you want to know how Barr started out? As a socialist and then became a dictator. I digress. They have family ties to this guy known as the Butcher of Hargeisa, and his whole shtick was all but the crows. So I don't know about you, but I've never been in public or at a public gathering with of people. So the suffering of the people of Somalia was so bad that there was a civil war and the regime was overthrown. Her family fled to first Kenya and then Minnesota, claiming they're like these asylum seekers, these poor people. No. They were fleeing to escape being held accountable for what they did. She was not oppressed. Her family, they were the oppressors. So for the Democratic Party to have her as a representative is insane to me. Like, that's who you want your party to represent. That's who you want to represent your party? Really? And the way that they've rebranded her as, this poor refugee. No, she wasn't a refugee of war. Her family created the war.
Definitely crazy, when it comes down to it with, who she is. Somebody literally posted right here. 2020, you have Ilhan Omar. She's not wanted. I want to just put that, out there for YouTube purposes. Y'all know what I mean. 2020, 65,000. 2021, 65,000. And 2022, 115,000. 2023, 205,000. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. And then 2024, 30 million. Huge jump, if you ask me. I'm not going to lie. That is a huge jump. I'm not going to lie. And it's definitely wild, even thinking about that. Says Ilhan Omar caught funneling millions of her campaign funds into her husband's business ventures. Lawsuits show nearly $2 million disappeared. $1.7 million went missing, y'all. Check it out right here.
With accusations of fraud against a business partly owned by Representative Omar's husband. Fox 9's Corin Hogger joins us now in the newsroom after digging into what's behind this legal fight. All right, Corin, what is Omar's connection to these accusations?
Karen, it's nothing directly. Her husband is Tim Minette, and his consulting firm legally got about $3 million from her 2020 campaign. Now he's a business partner in a few business ventures that are involved in lawsuits claiming his companies have made money disappear. In the case of Tim Minette, whose LinkedIn page shows he was a partner in the E Street Group along with Will Haler, there's no publicly known criminal investigation. But there may be something behind the scenes.
We have connected with federal law enforcement on this. I believe that they're looking into it as we speak.
Ned Horsted is the CEO of a South Dakota cannabis company that gave Haler and Minette's company $3.5 million to kickstart investments, but ended up with about $1.8 million back and a court judgment, an IOU for the other $1.7 million. Omar's office tells me she has no involvement in any business ventures, and the situation reeks of political desperation.
If you have a two-person business and one of them is a spouse of a member of Congress, it seems suspicious, to say the least, that they never knew about $3.5 million that came into the bank account. They never knew that 1.7 went missing.
The lawyers for Minette and Haler say they absolutely did not intend to defraud anyone in that cannabis business or in a winery deal that's also the subject of a civil lawsuit.
Let me tell y'all something. They wrong and they know they wrong at the end of the day. They wrong and they know they wrong. And it's honestly a damn shame that these individuals continue to lie and try to hide everything. It's literally out there. If we seeing it, I say this dang near every video. If we seeing it, y'all know. Y'all gotta know. The feds know way more. Got way more on her. I'm telling y'all. Not only Ilhan Omar, you got Keith Ellison as well. Minnesota Attorney General says right here, it's caught meeting, this is Fox News. It's caught meeting the Somali fraud suspects already under FBI investigation. I'm telling y'all.
And a Fox News alert also.
It's more so of, y'all remember how I told y'all that you have these you got these Somalians, right? And it's like they didn't, in a sense, train them. It's more so, you gonna do this and you gonna do that, and we need you to do this, and all you gotta do is that. Versus do this and do that, and if anybody comes up and talk to you and this, that, and other, I don't feel like they did any of that. Because independent journalists talking to, let's take Nick Shirley, for instance. He went up to multiple people, and what they do, they tell them themselves. So now what they're doing is they backtracking. Okay, well, I want to talk to this person. Make sure they don't say this. Make sure they don't say that. I'm telling y'all, it's wild.
Minnesota, the convicted ringleader of one of the state's biggest fraud schemes, is speaking to Fox News from behind bars. Now, she believes that the scam was no surprise to local Democratic leaders, and she's naming names. She spoke to Alexis McAdams. Hi, Alexis.
Hey, Dana. Yeah, so everywhere you look in the state of Minnesota, right, there seems to be another fraud scam. So this one involves Amy Bach. She's a Minnesota woman convicted of fraud for taking taxpayer money that was meant to feed hungry kids. But listen to this. Bach tells me the real issue here is the state of Minnesota, which she says kept giving scammers your taxpayer money even after they were flagged as fraudsters.
I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware, but apparently I'm scary, so they couldn't do anything.
So Bach ran this nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. You might have heard of it. It was one of dozens convicted in this $250 million scam. You can see her mugshot there. Prosecutors say this group set up sham restaurants. They pretended they were making these meals. They got paid by the state for those meals, but they just pocketed the cash. Bach, who's looking at 30 years behind bars, tells me the state signed off on those businesses, not her.
It all went through a process. They were all approved. They were all paid by the state, yet all the fingers are being pointed at me.
And it's not just Bach. Whistleblowers told a congressional committee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison there ignored warnings for years as millions of dollars and millions were stolen on their watch. Congress is investigating a long list of massive fraud schemes in the state. It's hard to keep up. Prosecutors say it's led to at least $9 billion in fraud, Dana, and counting. Congress also asking why the Attorney General there would meet with a group of Somali fraudsters, which were under FBI investigation in 2021. The group can be heard in an audio clip given to us by Bach's lawyer offering to donate to his campaign if he can help them get their funding flowing again. Ellison denies any wrongdoing here. He slammed Bach in a statement to Fox, calling her a liar and manipulator, adding now she's on a media tour to deflect her guilt onto others instead of finally taking responsibility for this fraud scheme that she ran. So we reached out to Governor Walz too, Dana. He didn't get back to us. House Republicans say it's just getting started. They want to subpoena Walz and Ellison because they say they're responsible for ripping off American.
And not only them, though. But y'all want to know what's wild about this? I'm gonna show y'all after. I'm gonna show y'all after this video. Was more so wild about this whole thing. But before I do that, this is a post that Elon Musk reposted of Anna Paulina Luna, basically speaking on Tim Walz and Keith Ellison. Check it out.
Chair recognizes Ms. Luna.
Thank you, Chairman Comer. Honorable Robbins, based on your record before your committee, when did Governor Walz first become aware of widespread fraud in Minnesota social service programs?
I would assume that he has been aware of it since he ran for office for governor in 2018.
By 2017, DHS investigators warned CCAP fraud could exceed 50%. What was that information elevated to the governor's office?
Yes, there was an OLA report.
Thank you, ma'am. By 2020, state officials knew Feeding Our Future invoices were fraudulent. We know that payments continued to the AG's knowledge. Did they continue to the governor's knowledge as well?
Yes.
Attorney General Ellison agreed on tape to fight Minnesota's own Department of Human and Health Services in exchange for Somali political and financial support. In your personal opinion, do you believe it is a possibility that Governor Walz also made that personal deal, or that he at least knew about the Attorney General's agreement?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't want to rehash what you guys have spent hours answering. We know that there's a big issue with the fraud in Minnesota. So on a number of things, I'd first like to point out, thank you for being here today, but because of your testimony and because of some of the evidence that we've seen brought forward, as well as I'm sure the fact that this committee, I assume, at Chairman Comer's direction, will be soon subpoenaing AG Ellison, I would like to make criminal referrals regarding Governor Walz as well as AG Ellison. As you know, U.S. Code 371 and U.S. Code 2, which deals with criminalized conspiracies to defraud the United States and establishes liability for individuals who knowingly aid or abet the commission of federal offense, includes willful blindness or deliberate inaction where duties to act exist. So I will be referring them later on today.
There y'all got it. There y'all got it. This is the video that I wanted to show y'all, though, before we get into this. Y'all see that when it comes to Tim Walz and, Ellison, people have, do y'all think, to make that move to jail Walz and Ellison? I think so. Because they know of it. That's the thing. You have people that's covering for them so much. Y'all have so many people that's covering for them. They had 28 Democrat members of Congress that flew to Minnesota to defend Tim Walz and Somali fraud networks ripping off American taxpayers. I'm telling y'all, check it out.
Hey, I'm here with Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota. We are so excited that we have 28 members of Congress from all over the country here to stand up with you, Governor. You have been such a strong champion to say that what is happening in Minnesota is absolutely not right. Tell us.
Well, Congresswoman, thank you. And to everybody out there across the country, thank you for standing with Minnesota. We're here today in beautiful, peaceful St. Paul, a place that we care for our neighbors. We care for everyone. This assault that
how you care for your neighbors, you care for everybody, and you literally getting caught up in taking those same people you saying you care for. Make that make sense. And then you got 20, man.
We're seeing is traumatic, but what I keep telling Minnesotans, we're not alone in this fight. We're on the right side of justice, the right side of history. Please keep thinking of Minnesota. Send us your thoughts, prayers, and any help you can. And a huge thank you to members of Congress who are actually doing the job. In a few short months, this will be Madam Chair, and we'll start straightening this country out.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Y'all know how he full of shit. This right here. That right there. That gets on my nerves, bro. I promise you, that gets on my nerves, bro. on my nerves. That little smile right there. Truly insane to me. Truly insane. One thing about it, you have Tim Walz, you got Keith Ellison, Mayor Frost. He not out of it either. But Ilhan Omar is in so much stuff. This is Benny Johnson right here. Says Ilhan Omar to be charged and deported after J.D. Vance confirmed to us she committed immigration fraud. It's not just, Ilhan Omar with the other Somalians and Ilhan Omar with, with her husband and this individual and that. She's in a lot, bro. She's in so much. I'm confused on why. I'm completely confused on why a lot ain't happening right now, especially with her.
What do you think should happen to Ilhan Omar, given these revelations from the White House?
Well, if the evidence shows that she committed fraud to become a citizen of our country, she should be deported and charged with a crime. It's pretty basic stuff. I don't know why this hasn't been sent to the DOJ. I would imagine she's not the only one in Minneapolis that have committed immigration fraud to get citizenship in our country, and anybody that has committed an immigration fraud to become a citizen of our country should be charged with a crime and then deported. It's pretty simple. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on those type of crimes, but there shouldn't be. And if there is, that's something that I would love to look into and try to pass a bill in Congress that has no statute of limitations, because if you committed fraud to become a citizen of our country or to get a visa to come into our country, then you should be held accountable for that and be deported. So hopefully they're going to, whatever information they have, they send that to the DOJ, and AG Bondi is going to take some action on it, because the American people are sick and tired of being taken advantage of. They're sick and tired of the fraud that is rampant, not just in immigration fraud, but you're seeing it with all of this social welfare programming in Minneapolis. You're seeing it in California as it relates to all these different social welfare programs that we are footing the bill for, that are going to people that don't deserve it, that aren't even here legally into our country. So I hope that the DOJ takes whatever evidence it is and moves forward with it.
That's true. That's true. And I hope so too. I ain't even gonna lie. Definitely hope so too, because I have so many people that's real irritated, within Ilhan Omar. I'm not gonna lie. Says President Trump says it perfectly. Basically about Somalians, on how they come here literally with no money, but they getting these Mercedes-Benz, they getting different cars. Different cars, buying nice clothes, buying jewelry, buying this, buying that, and it's truly, truly insane. I'm not going to lie.
How about in Minnesota? They come from Somalia, but they come from all over. They're all crooked in Minnesota. The governor's crooked. The attorney general's a crook. He's a thief. Terrible guy. All stupid, crooked people. And they came in this case, Somalia is just terrible. A lot of people say it's the worst country anywhere in the world. They have no money, no nothing. They have no government. They have no police. They just shoot each other all day long. It's just pure bedlam. Probably the worst, most dangerous country. We have some beauties. They go to Minnesota, and they stole $19 billion. $19 billion. And they're low IQ. Generally, I can generalize. They're low IQ people. They're bad people. They have 94% unemployment. In other words, they don't want to work. Get a lot of jobs available, right, with the economy. They don't want to work. Why would they work? And they sold more Mercedes-Benzes than any state in the union, because they come here with no money, and they go out. They love a Mercedes-Benz, and they go out and buy Mercedes-Benzes. And I think you're going to get to the bottom of it real easy. And every one of them should be. And Ilhan Omar, who married her husband, married her brother. Her brother became her husband. When she has to check a book, she says, any brothers? One. Any husband? One. She checks 2 people. So on top of everything else, she gets a double income tax cut. She's a stone cold crook, and everybody knows it. And the papers, they have one paper out in particular. The guy made a living writing about her, and I spoke to him. He said, but nobody does anything about it, sir. All you have to do is get his writings from the Indianapolis Star or whatever paper he works for. You don't even have to do anything. This guy spent 10 years investigating that crook, and you got to do something about it, or our people are going to they're already upset. Takes too long. So, JD, you go do it. And Russell, you better do it.
And I can't wait. I'm telling y'all, I definitely can't wait. Y'all have it right here. Obviously, YouTube, this is a picture that's not real, you know, but it's on here as you see. Gotta watch that. But you truly see it. I mean, it's truly sickening, and I cannot wait. I truly cannot wait for it. It's just wild. It's definitely wild. And I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. One thing about it is that I want them to be able to do what they need to do when it comes down to all this fraud, and not something that they just throw up under the bus or up under the rug, and it'd be over with. It'd be something else that, you know, we spoke about, people did a lot of work on, and for nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Hit that like button, that subscribe button for me, please. I definitely appreciate y'all for everything y'all doing, liking these videos, sharing these videos, and doing what y'all doing. Y'all are a big help, and I truly love it. You know, that one thing that I truly push to do is obviously to keep y'all happy, you know, and to put a smile on y'all face, and on top of that, you know, to keep going and spread, you know, a lot of things that actually need to be talked about, because you don't really see it nowhere else unless, you know, it's myself or other, you know, content creators that's getting out this real information. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Definitely appreciate y'all. Much love, everybody. Catch y'all next one.